somebody broke into this Toyota vehicle, tried to steal it. They busted off the ignition like the old days of the Honda, and then they decided that they were going to try to force ignition over, so they busted the face off, but they didn't really go inside of it and try to turn it. Now, whoever these people were should have been able to take the car. Maybe something prevented them from doing it, because the key is not a transponder key at all. Okay, and besides all of that, you can still stick it in and it turns the lock. So my task today is to take the information from this cylinder here and recode another system that has not been, you know, damaged by, you know, these people who were. This one still has all of the components on it and stuff like that. You can see there it's not all broke, but my task is to take information out of the original cylinder and recode this to match this key here, so we'll be able to stick this in and turn it, which right now we can't. We're faced with all kinds of dilemmas, as you can see, but this is a Toyota and that's next on the menu. Since this one doesn't have a key to it, I gotta make a key and so I can turn this lock cylinder here, and so I can take it out. And the way to take it out is I need to be able to depress this little retainer here. Well, with no key, you can't depress the retainer. So now I got to figure a way to get this out. There's a better view of the retainer right there that I have to depress. And so what I'm going to do, instead of drilling this right here, I'm actually going to put a hole here and take that retainer off, and then pull ignition out and make a key for it. So using just a regular punch, this is a spring-loaded punch. I'm going to put a hole about right here, and maybe, yeah, right there, and then we'll pull this ignition out of here, no problem. So here I go. I'm going to mark my spot where I'm going to drill at. As you can see, it's right in the center there. So I mark my spot. Real nice, as you can see, a nice little punch mark there, and then that's where I'm going to drill and be able to remove the ignition. Now, starting this, putting this hole right here, it will allow me to keep the basic form of the lock of the housing as it goes into the car, and it won't damage the cylinder to the point where I can't reuse it. So I'm going to start off with you know, a small 1/8" drill bit and make a pilot hole right there, and then I'll expand that as necessary until I can remove the retainer. So here I go with putting a pilot on there right now. As you can see, we have a clear path. So all the thing we're doing is moving this, is getting whatever little pieces of that retainer out of there, and then we should be able to remove this cylinder with no problem. Now that I've got this retainer here out of the way, I can take and move this lock cylinder out just like that, and we'll be able to recode it as necessary with the key for that other lock that we were showing, no problem. To get this lock cylinder out any further than what you saw me move it, you got to take off this key and ignition switch. It's just two screws, one on each side. You take those out, remove this, and continue with the removal of the... Both screws removed, both sides. This is the key and ignition switch, and there it goes right there. You don't want to break this little tit off here. That's what, when your key is in ignition and you open your driver door, some people call it your driver door open switch. That's what gives you the buzzer. Here's a nice shot of what the inside of the housing looks like. This is the ignition cylinder right here. And this is the actual plug, which is what we'll take out, is what we're going to recode to match this key here that we're going to be using for this particular lock. Right now it doesn't work, but when we're done it will. So we're going to remove the face. We'll take off this clip, and this is where we actually remove the retainer so we can take this lock cylinder out of the housing. There are no key codes on here, so you can't use this lock cylinder to actually cut a key for the lock itself. There are no key codes at all. You got part numbers, but no key codes. So here we are removing the retainer from the rear end of the lock here. You see I got some retainer pliers, a few tools that you might need, you know, to do the job. There are other ways to take this off, but this is the correct way, using a pair of retainer snap ring pliers. Look like this. Next we're going to take the face cap off here. Now it always helps to have someone, you know, to kind of keep you company while you're doing this, and you know, helps you to keep your focus on what you're doing, as well as gives you some primary insight on other stuff. Now we just about got this open. See that there? See, can you see? You see this here? Yeah. Okay, that's the cap. That's what we had to take off right there. Now we're at the cylinder, and we're going to take this cylinder out because we've taken everything apart. We don't have to have a key anymore. See what I'm saying? Okay, so we can just pull this right out, just like this, and we're actually ready to recode this lock. Wow, looks like somebody's been in here before. Why? All the pins aren't there. This has 8 chambers, and only 7 of them are in use. You see, the 8th one is not there. Currently, this key will not operate this lock cylinder, and that's because when we stick it in there, I'll show you the tumblers don't line up. As you can see, look at that. That would prohibit or prevent the plug from turning in the cylinder. That prevents, that prevents, that prevents. You know, you turn it over, you see the same thing on the other side, but boom, the other 2 are up there like that. So this will not turn in that lock. It won't turn in the cylinder. So we're going to recode it. That means we're going to change all these depths for these tumblers to match this key. Now you may be able to look at it on screen and read this right off the bat. I know I could, but we're going to write it down and we're going to recode the cylinder. One of the issues that a lot of people face that cause these locks to stick in those older Toyotas is the fact that you've got split wafers. Okay, we call them split wafers because unlike this is a solid wafer here, this is a split one here. One of them will cock, okay, and they won't allow the key to go all the way through, or if it does go all the way through, they won't allow it to turn anywhere near or past the accessory position. So there are full tumblers that will take the place of these if and when you're doing recoding. So we've got it all coated up here like we're gonna put it in the cylinder, and let's make sure of that. We stick the key in and make sure it actually oh yeah, there we go. I left a couple of tumblers out here for the video, that way you can see that even without those, this still is a lock, and it will still manage to work properly on that the cylinder that we're sliding it into. So we made them up. Just so you know, I'm not showing you everything because you don't need to try to do this at home. If you're not a locksmith, you don't need to be trying to deal with this because you don't know what I have not showed you. And you would do nothing but mess it up for the locksmith that has to fix it. Now this one key actually works on this particular lock cylinder right here. Without a problem. Now I didn't cut him a new key. I'm just using the same existing key, and we recoded this lock cylinder to match the key. Recoded this to match this. Now putting this back together is basically the reverse of taking it apart. Cylinder, housing, key, mating. And before we permanently fix anything, we will test the key to make sure she operates. That way, we just got to take it out and make an adjustment. We can, but we're all good. So we've healed the wound. Everything is back together. We'll try the key here to make sure it works. And the wound I was telling you about was where we had to remove the retainer. So we heal that up real nicely so that this will slide into the area that it's supposed to slide into without any problems. And basically that is it. So what do you have? You have a cylinder that at one time did not work because the key was different from the lock itself, that has been changed to match. That's called recoding. This is a Toyota, older model, 2000s, but